Hello, welcome to week 6. Hard to believe that we're already 6 weeks into the 2021-2022 school year, but here we are. So if you're watching this video, it is for English 11 with myself, Mrs. Alverton, and you are absent on either one or both of our days this week, depending on what class period I have you. So our schedule for this week is the day that we have the PSAT / College and Career Readiness Day on Wednesday. So that day is not going to be a normal schedule at all. I don't even know if I'll see you on that day because it's just going to be very different. So check your emails for that because you should be getting something about that in your student email or parent view or something. Anyway, for our class, we need to finish chapter 4. I don't think any of my class periods were able to finish it last week, so we're going to finish chapter 4. We're going to have some practice with citing textual evidence in the book and then practicing with writing some inference. And then we will be looking at heritage as kind of like our theme for this week. We're going to be watching a video from Amy Tan and doing a really cool mini memoir on heritage assignment that will start this week, but we won't actually start working on it until next week. We are going to have some writing prompts with the community lap around the track, first chapter Friday, and hopefully finishing chapter 5, reading the whole thing this week. If not, we'll finish it the next week. So, announcement. I have been updating grades and going through and putting stuff into Synergy, which is Student View for you. So if you, first of all, you need to check Student View for your most accurate up-to-date grades. I know some of your teachers try to sync Canvas to Synergy, and I just don't even do that because it has never worked for me. And I just know that I can rely on myself to get things entered in correctly. So check Student View for your grades. If you see something that's a bit off or you're not sure why you got a 0 on something, if you know you turned it in, just email me or talk to me at school. Sometimes I make mistakes when I'm grading, so if you see anything that looks off, just let me know. And if you are like, oh my gosh, why do I have such a low grade in English? This doesn't make any sense. It's honestly probably just because you need to turn something in. This happens a lot. If you miss like 1 or 2 weeks worth of Google Slides, it'll dramatically drop your grade down, but that does not mean that you're failing the class and that you need to freak out. It just means you need to turn in missing work. So take a deep breath. Don't worry. And just communicate with me if you have any questions. And then this question is something that you can't answer if you are just watching this video because you were absent. It's something that I'm going to ask you in class, so don't worry about that. Okay, so for my 5th and 6th period class, there were a lot of things that I was able to complete with my 4th period class, who I see on A days, last week that I didn't get to do with you. So if you are in 5th or 6th period, this is something for you. If you're in my 4th period class and you're watching this video, you can ignore this part. We need to answer this question, and we're not doing it in connection to the book. We're just doing it in general. Like, what do you think from your own perspective? And then you're going to answer this question as well. Again, not connected to Trevor Noah's book, but just from your own perspective in life in general, answering this question. Okay, so finishing chapter 4, I believe this question right here about the chameleon, the only class period that did not get to answer this question last week was my 6th period class because we ran out of time. So if you are in 6th period, please make sure that you answer this question connected to this quote from chapter 4. Okay, so we're finishing chapter 4, so you're going to answer this question. Trevor says, and my mom did not separate herself from anyone. She didn't care. She'd go right up and sit with the white people. So do you think Trevor's awareness of race as a child was influenced by his mom and her beliefs and how she just didn't care and would do what she wanted to do? Or if Patricia had acted differently, would Trevor still act the way that he did? So tell me what you think. And remember, this is all based off of just kind of like an assumption that we would make based off of what we know. Okay, so this is an activity where you are going to practice citing and analyzing a text, but making inferences from that. So this is going to be a separate document from the Google Slides that you will turn in. When you look at a quote, this might help you. You'll highlight the quote, either, on paper, or you can just like think about it as being highlighted in your brain. And then your job is to look at the stuff that comes right before the quote and right after it and note what is important. So, if we're looking at that quote, the quote itself, you're going to write it down in the cite the text evidence box. The analysis of the text, you're going to basically just state what was said before and after the quote itself, what was above and below it. And then the inference is, what inference can you make based on the details that you found in the box? So you're not summarizing what he just said. You're trying to make an inference or say, I think he would say this because this. So an example is found here in the slide. If this still is kind of confusing to you, please email me and let me know, or talk to me and I can help you out. This is not a test. It's not something that's really high stakes. I just want us to practice this idea of analyzing a text and making inferences, because this is going to be important when we get to our final project for this unit. So you should have, I believe, 2 quotes that you're going to do this with that are already provided for you, and then you're going to provide 2 quotes yourself. So take a look at that. It's on Canvas. If you go right here, it should be the citing and inference activity. Okay, so this is also something for my 5th and 6th period class only. 4th period, you already did this. So you are going to go to this website called My Student Path, and you have to take a survey. It should ask you for a few things. You're going to create like an account using your school email, and then it'll ask you these fall survey questions. The reason I'm having you do this is because all of the English classes in every single grade are having this be done in class, and it's a way to help us get resources for you. So it should only take you about 5, maybe 10 minutes if you write a lot. So again, this is linked in the slides and it should be on Canvas as well. It's called My Student Path. Okay, so we are going to do an activity through a website called Actively Learn. So you will click on the link here, and you need to, it's kind of like when you join like Google Classroom and there's a code or a like class. So you will join, make an account, and then you're going to join our class, and the link should be provided for you in the slides. So you can click on that. We're going to watch a video from Amy Tan. She is a writer and a very famous one. She wrote the book called The Joy Luck Club, which eventually became a movie. She was born in 1952 in February, and she grew up in the Bay Area in California, like San Francisco area. And we're going to watch a video where she was talking at some sort of an event at the White House a few years ago, and she's talking about this idea of heritage. Heritage was one of our vocabulary words that we briefly discussed a couple weeks ago, but this week we're really going to dive into it. So you are going to watch the video. It's on Actively Learn, which is linked here in the slides. And then as you watch the video, it'll pause itself 3 times for you to answer some questions within the Actively Learn website. So if you are having trouble with this website when you are doing this, if you're absent and you're doing it at home, just let me know. But we are going to watch the video, answer those questions in Actively Learn, and then we're going to do an activity with this later. So after watching that video, you should know that she talks about a lot in that video, but she's talking about heritage, and she says several things. She describes heritage as the food that she ate, her parents asking her why she got a B+ instead of an A, the advice that her mom would give her, secrets about her parents' past, the Joy Luck Club her parents started, which eventually she wrote a book on, her parents' struggles, her views on family, her parents' tears of joy from becoming U.S. citizens. So she gives you very, very specific examples of things that make up her heritage growing up. And so your heritage, your past, leads you to where you are today. It's a very important thing to consider and think about. So we're going to dive into this later in the week. So after watching this video, I want you to tell me in your own words, how would you define what heritage is? What does that mean? So you're going to do that in this box. So, if I could add to what you wrote, heritage is simply the stories that make us who we are. So, it's the experiences we have, the family that we grow up in, the area we grow up living in, the culture of our family. It really has to do with like how you were raised. And I think a lot of times when people hear the word heritage, they think about like ethnicity and cultural traditions, and that can definitely absolutely be part of it, but that's not the only thing. So, this is the prompt that we're doing for our lap around the track activity. So if you were absent this day, then you can just add your writing prompt to the slide because normally we do it on a piece of paper. So hopefully we will be able to finish chapter 5 today in this portion of the week. And remember to continue to fill out your golden lines and Patricia's advice as we go through. This right here, this chapter is going to be a huge chapter for Patricia's advice because it's a really big chapter about her. So our first question for this chapter, what is one quality about Patricia that you think Trevor admired the most, and tell me why you think that? The text states, we tell people to follow their dreams, but you can only dream of what you imagine, and depending on where you come from, your imagination can be quite limited. Do you agree or disagree with what he's saying, and tell me why or why not? All right, so this is going back to our video that we watched with Amy Tan. We are going to do a little mini project called the Mini Memoir on Heritage, and we're going to be using Canva to do it. So if you remember at the beginning of the school year, I had you practice using Canva with the My One Word goal thing. So you should already know how to use it, which is really nice, and you should already have your account set up. It's through your school email. So we are going to make a personal connection with talking about our own heritage. You are going to create this little project answering both of the following prompts, one about your past heritage and one about your future. If you are pursuing honors credit, you are going to do both of those things, and you need to very clearly explain to me kind of the in-between of the past and the future, like if there's something from your past that you want to continue in your future, and I'll explain what that looks like with my example. So for your past heritage, you're going to write 2 paragraphs explaining your heritage growing up. You will find a minimum of 3 pictures to represent your heritage growing up on Canva. Your future heritage, you're going to talk about what you want your heritage to be like in the future with the family that you have, or just your life in the future. What do you want that to look like? So obviously this one is already made up and happened because it's in the past, but this is totally up to you and what you want your life to look like in the future. So you're going to complete both of these things in the same document on Canva, and I have an example to show you. This week though, we're not starting on making the project. This week we're just brainstorming, and next week is going to be our work week to get that project complete in class. So you are going to edit this graphic organizer that I've made for you. It's a Venn diagram with just kind of a little bit of a twist. So on this side, you're going to list out things that are involved and connected with your heritage growing up as a kid. And then this is going to be, what do you want your heritage to look like in the future? And then if there's anything that you would like to carry over into the future that's already been a part of your life, you can add that in the middle. This right here is going to be the section that you're going to need to write about for honors credit specifically. So if you're not doing honors credit, you don't necessarily need to address what you would like to continue, but for honors credit, you do. And I will show you an example of what I mean. So here is an example of myself when I made my example on Canva, which is located on Canvas. This is what I did when I filled it out. So I went through and thought, okay, what are some things that stand out to me about my childhood and how I grew up? Something that was a very big part of my heritage was how my dad raised me to write thank you cards to people that gave me any type of physical gift. If I received a birthday gift or a Christmas gift or somebody got me something for graduation, I always wrote a physical thank you card and either hand delivered it to the person if I knew them or mailed it to them, because that's how my dad raised me. He wanted to teach me how to show my gratitude. I would have vacations almost every single year visiting family in California, which was a really big part of what my parents taught me to value family time. And again, with heritage, just like the whole single story activity, this is going to be a blend of things that are kind of positive and negative. So something that was a part of my heritage that I didn't really like. I thought was kind of a negative experience. When I got to be in college, for the first part of college, I lived at home, and I kind of really butted heads with my parents quite a bit in terms of trying to make this transition from a child, a minor, to a college student living at home and trying to be more independent. My faith was a very, very big part of my life growing up, and still is. You can see right there the dedication and hard works that my parents modeled. When I was 8 years old, my parents had purchased some property and were building a house for us. It was kind of like their dream house. And they worked really hard for it because they did not make a lot of money, and they had to like physically put in lots of sweat, equity, and labor into the house. And they modeled a lot of hard work for me to see what that was like. Another negative thing about my heritage is just in my family, there was a lot of stress about money, and that kind of carried over from how my dad was raised. So, a balance of good and bad things. Things that from this section of in my past that I want to carry over, I decided were these things. So, I'm not going to go over that because I just talked about it. So, now I'm thinking about my future heritage. What do I want my family, the culture of my life to be like in the future? These are things that have yet to happen, but I want to make them happen. They're kind of dreams and visions that I have. So this is actually something that we just started doing, having a monthly family dinner where the whole family gets together and we take turns hosting at different people's houses. When I have kids someday, I want to teach them to love reading like I do. Um, different different from when I grew up, I want there to be more peace about finances in my family. Health is a really big thing. I want to be able to create an environment where what we eat and how we stay active is prioritized and done correctly. Having a big family is important, encouraging my kids to try different sports and different activities. So you can see how they are different. This is how I grew up, and this is how I want the rest of my life to look like, especially when I have my own family. So here's an example of what you should be creating. I told you in the rubric or the instructions that you need to have a minimum of 3 pictures to represent your past and your future heritage. If you want to add more pictures, you totally can, but you're going to clearly label which one is which, and you're going to have at least 3. So you can see thank you to represent thank you cards. This is about the stress. This is about working hard. And then this is for my future. And on that same document, like on adding a separate page, you're going to write your 2 paragraphs. So I won't read this to you, but if you want to pause it and read it, you can. For those of you that are pursuing honors credit, this is what I want you to pay attention to. Right here, I want to continue to value family time. I want to continue. So I'm talking about things that I want to continue from my past into my future. But I also talk about, if you go down here, the new things that I want to incorporate. So that is where you need to be very specific in having that outline. Okay, and then the last thing for this week is First Chapter Friday. I had this in the slides for last week, but we ran out of time, so I didn't actually get to show you this book. So you can take a look at it. It's Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, and there is a book trailer for you. So that is this week. If you have questions, please let me know. But I'm excited to see you when I see you.